Tertium is under attack. My city. A dark tide of chaos is rising. Our best fighters are falling. It's time to try new tactics. Something different. Something desperate. We take you, the outcast and the criminal, the lost and the damned, because you have nothing left to lose. So you're the scum we're counting on now. And if it's come to this, then God Emperor help us all.
Rejects will rise, and that's not the only thing rising this Wednesday afternoon, as Skulls for the Skull Throne officially kicks off with a bang, particularly noxious and corrupting bang of the decidedly non-Slaaneshi variety. It's still not official gameplay yet. I believe we do not have long to wait on that front, but the environments, the character designs, the weapons, that inescapable sense of dread as everything you know and love crumbles around you, it's all coming together quite nicely. It's all rather, should I say it? Grimdark. And if nothing else, we know one thing has been made perfectly clear from these Darktide reveals. Fat Shark knows Warhammer, and they know 40k, and my hype is growing with each new unveiling. It seems like there's a lot to look forward to with this title. So let's jump into all this new information, discuss the trailer a bit, and break down what we know of the story and what hellish horrors await deep in the bowels of Atoma Prime. And I have to say right off the bat, bro, the enemy and weapon designs here are insanely good. On par with, if not better than Vermintide's. Which is saying a lot, because the Skaven and Chaos work in those titles was incredible. That's probably the element that stands out to me the most in all these trailers so far. The Forces of Chaos just look sick, in more ways than one. Corrupted guardsmen, decaying Ogren bulwarks, and a horde of cultists, all rising up alongside tens of thousands of newly converted poxwalkers. Things are getting dire down in the hive city of Tertium, and purging the place may take more than a simple squad of condemned conscripts to get the job done. My favorite moment in the trailer is when that gas hits and that poor random lady starts turning into a poxwalker. It's real quick, it's real brutal, but it's a kind of body horror that represents Nurgle to the fullest, and gives us a great sense of what exactly we're dealing with when it comes to the narrative driving the story forward, and how it's affecting the average member of the populace down there in Tertium Prime. So it appears that cultists first infected the minds of the Mobian 6th Guard Regiment off-planet, and when they returned home, they brought something new with them, something dark, something foul. Whatever cells had already been planted in the hive prior to their return, kicked off an uprising, then connected with the corrupted guard when they were first sent in to quell that rebellion, and their first major strike appears to be a terrorist attack of some sort, with a tram laden with billowing clouds of noxious disease. A disease that is most likely the walking pox, a malady best avoided by the average citizen of the Imperium, but easier said than done when Scarecrow pops the water supply and the whole hive starts drowning in gas. When that train first derails, it sends out a massive cloud of poison that begins turning the populace into poxwalkers, a variant of Nurgle zombie with a particularly dark twist. Because though a poxwalker will inevitably die, they are not fully shuffled from their mortal coil, and in fact remain conscious and trapped within their own decaying bodies, watching helplessly as the form they no longer control hunts for living flesh to consume. The newly formed Ordo Sepulchrum, dedicated to combating the Death Guard Traitor Legion and this new poxwalker threat, believes that the walking pox is a variant of Nurgle's rot, the most virulent disease in all the galaxy, responsible for turning its hosts into plague bearers, which as you know are the lesser demons of Grandpappy Plague. Whatever the truth of the matter, it's getting bad down there real fast. And if you've been listening to the Vox transmissions on Fat Shark's official channel, you get an even better sense of the scale of this growing conflict and how bad things truly are becoming. Callsign Wormwood is an inquisitorial acolyte or agent sent in to infiltrate Tertium Prime and determine the source and depth of the heresy spreading there. And in a series of very creepy and well-done transmissions, we hear the crumbling of the planet's infrastructure and the beginnings of the rebellion as it manifests into all-out war, as Wormwood desperately attempts to make contact with her handler and inform him of the pox now gripping the system. Each transmission becomes increasingly erratic and pressing, but still, she is unable to reach Morningstar, presumably the mobile base, or in this case, the ship, of the main Inquisitor in charge of rooting out this heresy that we get a glimpse of in this trailer. Essentially, Morningstar is us, and the desperate measures referred to in this trailer are the penal colony rejects with nothing to lose, sent in as fodder to expunge our records and our lives in service to the Emperor, and that is where we come in as the player. Remember that when a Chaos Rebellion gets bad enough in 40k, and the threat of demonic invasion from the warp is imminent, which seems like it might be heading towards that location right now, an Inquisitor typically has the authority to order exterminatus, glassing the surface of the world and condemning all life on it to oblivion. So if our strike team of prisoners can't get things under control quickly when they arrive, we're talking the potential for billions of dead at the press of a button, which is probably better than becoming a diseased world of Nurgle himself. Now, billions dead is a drop in the bucket for the Imperium, but still considered a bit of a catastrophe losing an entire planet to chaos. Losing out on all those bodies to throw into the meat grinder off-world would be a sad day for the Emperor. Comrade Stalin will be right at home in this Imperium, because one death in 40k is a tragedy, but 8 billion is just a statistic. Probably why the Guard have commissars as well. So we are the Bad Batch, and confirmed today for the first time, we will be able to create our own unique characters and customize their physical appearance, voice, and origin, selecting from unique traits and skill sets to make use of in battle. Again, I do have some reservations on this front about what sacrifices will be required to make all that work, and I fear we'll lose out on some of the flavor, personality, banter, and writing we had with the established characters in Vermintide, but those sacrifices could potentially be worth it if it means an easier time creating new classes and characters in the future in terms of free LC and DLC moving forward. Because as awesome and important as dialogue and writing can be, gameplay, in my mind, always comes first, and variety is a huge part of that for me. The more weapons, the more characters, the more classes, the better the game is going to be. So I'll be interested to see how that all shakes out. A couple new enemy types confirmed here as well. The big one, of course, being that cultist lieutenant of sorts, who may end up being a mini-boss like a Plague Ogren, or a chapter-specific boss in the early sections of the game. But he's all decked out and pimpin' right now, with a plasma pistol glowing orange hot, which I guess is the standard for Chaos Forces. I always thought it was blue, but I guess that's more for the Order side, and for the Chaos side, I guess they either glow red or orange in most of the official artwork and tabletop models. Normally, I don't think standard issue Ogren armor would be enough to stop one close-range plasma shot, let alone multiple at point-blank range, but I'd say that and the Psyker gesture are just kind of for cinematic flair, and not really trying to emulate a real combat scenario, especially in-game. I did feel like the posturing and the pause in the fighting there was a bit jarring, especially after the incredibly satisfying lasgun and auto sections right before it, but ultimately it's a trailer and I don't really care that much. Either way, dude looks like he's going to be a problem in-game, and so will that Ogren Bulwark, whose face is clearly beginning to show signs of corruption, but I think that shield and maul will be a much more imminent threat than his ugly mug. I'm hoping he'll actively be able to provide cover and draw fire for the corrupted guardsman squad supporting him. I'd love to see lasgun troopers actively walking behind him, shooting from behind that massive shield as they advance, and working together with the threat. And I can say with absolute certainty, Bulwarks will be a much more active threat in this game, and harder to deal with than any of the shielded enemies in Vermintide 2. There was also another enemy type confirmed in one of the higher resolution screenshots, some kind of plague-bursting suicide bomber. There's a blinking red light and a bomb clearly strapped to his chest, while it waddles maniacally towards the player, so expect that thing to show up at the worst possible moments to explode in the middle of your team and end your run with a bang. Plus, it looks like some of the corrupted guardsmen will be wielding hotshot volley guns, which are high-power las weapons that require a backpack to run and can unleash devastating amounts of rapid-fire lasers. So, if you get caught in the open against them, you are probably going to take a lot of damage even through your initial overshield. These are typically wielded by stormtroopers and Tempestus Scions, so more elite regiments and higher quality veterans that are quite a bit more lethal than your standard run-of-the-mill guardsmen. Naturally, the Psyker part at the end has me super excited too, because unless that's pure misleading creative license, it means we're getting psychic disciplines outside what you'd consider the standard for a pyrokinetic like Sienna in Vermintide. Of course, I'm still expecting some of the Psyker staffs to play similarly, or maybe even the same, to Sienna's Conflag and Coruscation, for example, but I'd consider the ability he unleashes at the end there to be the archetypal Smite, which is essentially a lightning bolt of arcane warp energy common amongst Psykers from the Eldar to the Thousand Sons of Siege. Being able to Zeus their asses in the middle of an onrushing horde, or quickly eliminate a special, should be really fun and satisfying, and I'm hoping that it, alongside the head pop that's already been confirmed, will form the bedrock of a varied set of psychic disciplines with unique abilities and options to choose from for the Psyker. Smite is an ability I'd consider to be a very good start, but force pushes, telekinesis, shockwaves, and explosions in general, like Unchained has access to, would all be welcome additions. Jesper Kidd is confirmed. He is back, and he is a legend in the world of video game OSTs. I've gushed about him before, but he was responsible for Assassin's Creed 2, tracks like Ezio's Family and Venice Rooftops, which are legitimately iconic, and he also made the soundtrack for Vermintide 1 and Vermintide 2, including the main themes, which are, well, some of the best tracks I've ever heard in any medium, cinema, or games. And you get a taste of his work at the end of this trailer, which predictably is very much a banger. Also got some pre-order news that I will disclose here as well. Naturally, I would not advise pre-ordering at least until we've seen a lot more in terms of gameplay, and preferably gotten our hands on the game ourselves, perhaps in the form of an open beta. I am of course hoping for early access and a transparent run up to launch, where we get tons of time with the game and can show off lots of stuff before release, but in terms of an actual beta, I'm not sure what to expect on that front, honestly. There was one for Vermintide 2, so it would not shock me if it occurred here as well, but so far there hasn't been any info on that one way or the other. The standard price of the game is set at 40 USD, and with a pre-order, you will get an extra bit of bling to hang off your weapon, and a unique portrait frame for your character. Don't really care about either of those things. They're just like the things we have in Vermintide, but not really a big deal. But the Imperial Edition will kick the game up into full AAA title price at 60 USD, and give you a bunch of unique cosmetics, outfits, weapon skins, backpacks, and 2,500 premium currency, which doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't know what the prices will look like in stores, so I don't really care about that. But this is something we should be wary of moving forward and keep an eye on. But if it's just like Vermintide, which I expect it will be, not particularly worried at all. As long as there are cool skins, outfits, and cosmetics to unlock through natural progression, I could not care less if they decide to sell some crazy gaudy premium skins on the side. The special outfits in Vermintide didn't grant any advantages in battle whatsoever. They were purely cosmetic, although maybe a bit expensive for what they were. Actually, if I remember correctly, a Wanderers in the Wild was like 30 USD for 5 new career skins, which is basically the price of the game itself, and frankly sounds exorbitant for what the content was on offer, but I also never bought it and never felt the need to, so no skin off my back one way or the other. Really, the major problem I had with cosmetics in Vermintide was that they were advertised heavily in the early trailers running up to launch, which made everyone think, oh, cosmetics are going to be a huge thing, but the shop wasn't added until many years later, and many of the coolest items just kind of sat unused in the game files for literally like 2 or 3 years. As long as we avoid that controversy again, and there's a nice mix and substantial amount of cool skins to unlock normally, then I'm perfectly content to let them churn out some wilder stuff for a few extra bucks on the side. I don't care. It's when that premium currency starts impacting the base game content and progression that I'll start having a problem, and that really wasn't much of an issue in Vermintide. So perhaps a bit disappointing that we didn't get any gameplay today, but the marketing cycle's in full flow at this point, and I expect we will see a full gameplay walkthrough from Fat Shark very soon. And when that happens, I will be right there to cover it. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all in the next video, which will be Immortal Empires trailer, only a few minutes after this one goes live, should everything go to plan, of course, and then Space Marine 2 coverage either later today or tomorrow. So lots of cool stuff to cover. Stay tuned. Indie Pride signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.